everything's being put into place. Things are not falling apart; they're falling into place. And the truth of the matter is, if there's going to be a new world order, which we know is going to be a reality one day, if not probably sooner rather than later, you cannot have a free and independent and prosperous United States of America. And so literally what we're watching happen in our country, I believe, is a communist revolution, to take America and bring it down several notches so it will fit in with the global paradigm that Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum and the rest of the globalists have always wanted.
Mm-hmm.
The tension between Israel and Russia, and we know that tension has to exist because Ezekiel chapters 38 and 39 predicts Rosh or Russia invading Israel in the last days. So you can't have that unless there's tension between the two. And this is an article that comes from IsraelToday.com, and it says Russia opens fire on Israel.
Yep.
This is the first reported incident of Russian military attacking Israeli planes. And it says in the article, but this time, according to unnamed sources cited by Channel 13, Russian military stations in Syria opened fire on Israeli aircraft. If true, experts said this marks a significant and dangerous policy shift on the part of Moscow. And prior to this, there was tension between Russia and, well, let me put it this way, Israel and Syria. And, as Israel sort of took it out on Syria, Russia really didn't seem to care. But now you've got a situation where Russia is actually firing on Israel, if these sources are correct. It says last week, Israel Air Force jets allegedly attacked targets in northern Syria. And then the article says that's not out of the ordinary. But this time, according to unnamed sources cited by Channel 13, Russian military units stationed in Syria opened fire on Israeli aircraft. And so I guess I would include something like this in a prophecy update because the Bible, Ezekiel 2,600 years ago, predicts tension between Israel and Russia in the last days. And you've just seen, if these reports are accurate, you've just seen a sea change in that tension. And the title of it is, Did Ronald Reagan Believe Russia Would One Day Attack Israel? Based on the writings of the ancient Hebrew prophet Ezekiel? Yes. Here's the remarkable story about Reagan's fascination with Ezekiel 38 and 39. And the article talks about in 1971, then Governor of California, Ronald Reagan attended a banquet to honor State Senator James Mills. And in the course of the conversation, Reagan began to talk to Mills about what he had been reading in the book of Ezekiel, how Russia would invade Israel, in the last days, exactly what we believe, Brannon. And then in his 1997 book, Dutch, a memoir of Ronald Reagan, Edmund Morris, the president's official biographer, revealed that Ezekiel was actually Reagan's favorite book of prophecy. Morris also recounted an intriguing scene he personally witnessed in the Oval Office in which Reagan discussed the Ezekiel option with White House Chief of Staff Howard Baker and National Security Advisor Colin Powell. And then it quotes someone well, Brannon, Michael Reagan. And this article asked, I once asked Michael Reagan, the president's son, if such accounts rang true. And he confirmed that they did, noting that his father firmly believed he was living in history's last days and thought he might see the return of Christ in his lifetime. It's interesting that Reagan's view of Russia, as an evil empire, a lot of that, and of course Ronald Reagan, as we all know, won the Cold War without firing a shot.
Mm-hmm.
He was a brilliant tacticianer, but a lot of his mindset, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall, etc., a lot of his mindset about that came from his understanding of the book of Ezekiel. And the article says, who else could Rosh be other than Russia And the article talks about how Reagan in these conversations was talking about how Russia at one time was a Christian Orthodox country, and it fell under the communist revolution, in 1917, and he felt that was setting the stage for Ezekiel's prophesied invasion, and so that formed a lot of his thinking about Russia as an evil empire.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's go to the next one. So Gog-Magog update, when then we just talked about their tensions rising between Israel and Russia. Reports again of Russia firing on an Israeli jet out of Syria. Second one today in our list, our prophecy update, gold in Israel. Dr. Woods?
There you'll see underlined silver and gold. In other words, that's the motivation for this attack, that Ezekiel speaks of. And, I've used some articles in the past, going back to maybe 2016, showing that Israel is on the precipice of a recent gold discovery or a new gold discovery. And I just discovered this brand new article. This goes back only 2 years, January 8th, 2020. And it says, in the land of Ophir, near the city of Eliat, a private exploration company has made a significant gold discovery and is looking for investment partners to develop its property. Archaeologists speculate that King Solomon's mines might also be located at this mountainous region in southeast Israel. Since ancient times, the area has been known for its vast mineral wealth. And it goes on and it sort of lays out the business plan of this company. It's basically its call for investors to help find the gold that they think is there. And this is very interesting because Ezekiel 38 verse 13 predicts the invasion will occur because of gold in Israel. And so if true, this is yet another clue that God is giving us that the stage is being set for this end-time invasion.
Wow. Fascinating.
Our country is about ready to surrender its sovereignty to the World Health Organization. But this particular article says, on the eve of destruction, Klaus Schwab pledges the world can find salvation at Davos in 2022. And it says, concerning famines, floods, pestilences, drought, plague, war, and rumors of war, these are the key issues facing the world today, and the invitation-only World Economic Forum next week, I didn't realize it was coming up so fast, in Davos, Switzerland, is just the place to find the answers provided by the select globalist elites founder Klaus Schwab, and that's what he declared on Wednesday. And so apparently they're getting ready to meet again, and they're going to be, of course, talking about multilateral organizations that will transcend nationalism. And the article goes on and says all will be flying in, but that's quite a carbon footprint there, all will be flying in for the week at a luxury ski resort before flying home again, just as they've done in the past. So all of that to say they have no intention, these elites, of living under the same rules that they impose for the rest of us. And they're worried about protests. The article says, so there's no place for the frivolous fringe that seeks to distract and divert attention.
Famines, floods, pestilence, drought, plague, war, and rumors of war. These are the key issues facing the world today. What's that make you think of? Matthew chapter what, Dr. Woods?
Chapter 24. It also makes me think about, Brandon, what you were talking about at the top of the show, related to the fact that a lot of these crises are man-made,
yep.
Particularly pestilences there, trying to create a problem so that we'll reach out for the global solution to solve the problem for us.
Yep.
But that Jeremiah 50 and 51 chart, it shows you the various prophecies of the prophet Jeremiah that have never been fulfilled.
Okay, here it is.
And it shows you how that identical language is found in Revelation 17 and 18. So if Bible prophecy is meant to be understood literally, and we think it is, because all of the prophecies in the past that have happened in real time literally, then we take Jeremiah 50 and 51 literally, and therefore Babylon has to be restored so it can be destroyed exactly like God said. And so the Babylonian religious system and the Babylonian political system in a literal city has to come back to life, and that's what we're seeing happen, before our very eyes, in preparation not only for worldwide deception under the Antichrist, but ultimately the destruction of the city of Babylon in Revelation 16, verse 19, in the seventh bowl judgment. In that chart that I gave you there with, showing how Jeremiah 50 and 51 shows up in Revelation 17 and 18, you'll notice that one of the entries there is heaven itself will rejoice. And you see that rejoicing that's spoken of in Jeremiah 51, verse 58, over in Revelation 19. It's the heavenly hallelujahs, from the angels, from the four living creatures, from the 24 elders. I mean, it's just a giant party in heaven, if I can put it that way, when Babylon falls. And so, that's our ultimate victory. It's not so much based on our ability in the here and now to take America back. I hope we do, and I'll fight with all of the patriots, in our attempt to do that. But if we lose, which we could, that doesn't destroy our hope, because our ultimate hope is when God personally topples Babylon.